left-wing Kingz. Listen, think, act, repeat.
While Joe Biden and Donald Trump dominate the headlines, there are some third-party candidates that are trying to steal some of the shine and set up shop in the Oval Office. Candidates like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Cornell West, and Jill Stein, and even more. There's a whole bunch of them out there after doing my research. They're ramping up their campaigns and they're trying to get into the his house and get on the state ballots. So, Steve, which third-party candidate are you most excited about?
Dr. West. Let me say this. I really do wish that it was Dr. West with Jill Stein as his running mate because I'm excited about both of them. But Dr. West, this is his first time running for president. He's extremely knowledgeable. And he's been saying things that the major candidates, they should have been looking at. They should have been looking at these things for years. He has things and, he suggested things that would be good globally and nationally. And his ideas are intelligent and a lot of them are practical, even though, look, we might get taxed a little. Practically down the road, it would help. So.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. I admire Dr. West. Been a long time follower for him. But it's some things that I agree with him and I don't disagree. I do disagree with him. He has some awesome domestic plans, and he's really got a brilliant plan on attacking homelessness and poverty here in America, and racial equity, and policing, coming up with some policing tactics here in the country. So I do agree with him on his domestic things. I listened to him this week, and I think where Dr. West is going to have issues is when it comes to foreign policy, especially with Hamas and Israel. Him and his running mate, I think it was Marilyn Abdullah, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
They were asked some hardline questions when it came to Hamas, Israel, and even though they stand on maybe a good moral ground, I think politically, to run for president, it's going to be the dagger that takes them down. To be honest with you, even though I'm excited about Cornell West as a third-party candidate, along with a few other ones. Jill Stein's pretty, okay, but I think that's his dagger in the side is his foreign policy.
I agree, but I kind of also feel like if you look at even the major candidates, there's not a good answer for what's going on in Israel right now. There's just not.
Yeah, I mean,
you can forget about it, anything, because when you have that type of carnage, and what are you going to do? Because it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, it's your ally. So if you say, hey, well, this is my ally, I'm sticking with him, you're like, well, are you okay with all these people getting killed?
Yeah.
But then if you go against it, then it's like, well, that's your ally. Why are you turning your back on your ally? But real talk, that a lot of what's going on shouldn't be going on.
Mm-hmm.
So Israel is a no-win situation.
Well, I mean, but they got to ask some hardline questions about Hamas, like straight direct. Like, do you support Hamas and do you think what they did is right? And they stumbled on those questions.
Yeah,
and we all know that and then like they tried to back it up and say, well, the problem with Hamas and Israel has been going on for 70 years. And we all know that. We know that Hamas didn't come out of nowhere. But when you getting that asked directly about October 7th, and do you agree? You kind of got to be steadfast and say and this is just politically. I'm not saying morally they're wrong on what they're saying, but I'm saying politically, you just got to denounce them completely. Hey, they're a terrorist group or whatever, and we need to get rid of Hamas. And I think that if you're running for president, that's going to be an issue for you when it comes to foreign policy and getting the support you need. We have a real strong Jewish presence in America and also in politics. Okay, so and not just because of that, but also because of the fact that just like Hamas just did some gangster shit on October the 6th and went over there and kidnapped some people and killed some people and the whole 9 yards, and that just should kind of be denounced straight up. But
Oh yeah.
we all know the political ramifications behind it. But if you're running for president, you want the support. I just think you have to have a stronger presence on that. And they got to ask them serious questions, which really made them look weak on foreign policy and really understanding that situation.
Yeah. So speaking of policy, let's say Trump or Biden wins. What third party candidate policies should one of them embrace? Let's start off with Ace on that one.
I think Cornell West has a awesome domestic policy that they should look at. He's talking about really addressing homelessness and trying to eliminate that and having a war against that and working towards that. And along with that, along with some gender and racial equity things they're talking about, we know definitely with Cornell West, we're not going to have people, getting rid of DEI programs and all that stuff. So
Right.
but if you listen to what he's saying, he's really got a plan and attack on making things better domestically. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's something they should actually pick up. I'll be honest with you. When I did some of my research, I just really didn't find anything else strong enough to where I was like, oh yeah, Biden and them should talk about that. Maybe you could talk about maybe what RFK is doing a little bit, but I don't. We talked a little briefly about his farm subsidies and stuff like that, but yeah, my thing is I really did like what Cornell West was saying domestically, what he was trying to do for that.
I agree with what he said. I also like Jill Stein's economic bill of rights, basically where you're saying people deserve a livable wage, people deserve health insurance. Those are things that are important. People deserve affordable housing. I kind of feel like when you look at what's going on right now in our country, that's the main problem, more than anything, because it don't matter what color you are, you got to have a place to live. You got to be able to go to the doctor, an economic bill of rights would help the country blanket as a whole. And it would be nice. I mean, even if you didn't embrace the whole thing, if you looked into doing some of that.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, there was some things was it 2 weeks ago? Can't remember that we talked about RFK Jr. and there were some policies that he had that were very interesting. And I know Steve, that you like a lot of the things that RFK Jr. talks about. But then there's also the other side of the coin that you like. Am I willing to take the cool to go with the crazy? So
yes, exactly.
Some of that in there. But speaking of that, we talk about RFK when we spoke about him being a threat to Trump and Biden. Who do you think, Steve, is the biggest threat to Trump or Biden as far as stealing votes?
RFK is definitely going to steal a lot of Trump voters. And people I think, originally thought, okay, well, he's going to be taking voters from Biden. But the thing about it is this. You have people who have a sour taste in their mouth about Trump because of January the 6th, because of some of his policies. I mean, Jared Kushner, got $2 billion after he got out of the White House. You got people who are sour about those things, and they don't want to vote for Trump, but they're looking for somebody else. RFK is the only person they really going to have that they could vote for. They're not going to want to vote for Biden because he's Biden, and Jill Stein and Cornell West are too far to the left. So RFK would probably be their only choice. For Biden, I would also say RFK because I think Jill Stein is, she's run for president a few times and, she never got any traction. So,
yeah.
My concern is the independent swing voter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy that can go either way is what I'm saying. So people gonna vote for Trump, gonna vote for Trump. People gonna vote for Biden, gonna vote for Biden. They got their bases that are gonna do that. Don't think it really affects that either way. But that independent swing voter, who you gonna vote for? That's usually who kind of determines the presidency. Now you got RFK here. Like you said, he's got some things going, but then RFK also denounced COVID and didn't believe in vaccines, and now the measles are back. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Just like, so it's just like, who are they or what are they going to vote for? And how's that going to determine presidency? Like, especially when you're talking about swing states like Michigan and Pennsylvania. And then now you got these guys that are coming in that maybe some of these independent swing voters that were going to vote for Biden and or Trump are not going to go another way. I think that RFK fits more to Trump's people, you know, to where he's maybe affecting some of his base a little bit more. But I think it could be dangerous also if you got somebody who's probably leaning toward Biden. It's like, oh, I have another choice now, and I'm going to vote that way. My issue and problem is until you kind of change the system, that third party candidate really isn't working toward how the system works.
Agreed.
It's like we're playing chess when we checkers when we should be playing chess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean it's cool and it's, you know, I guess it feels good, but is it politically going to get anything done or get us what we need, or is it going to actually hurt the country and put us in a situation we don't want to be in and have to live with for hopefully the next 4 years, and hopefully not for the hopefully don't change how everything is completely because we get the wrong person in office and they start changing things around, because we had this guy that was just want to stand on a policy that knew they weren't going to win, but they want to steal votes and change the election like that.
Yes, I agree. And if we had to where you had to get more than 50% of the vote,
yeah,
like that was down the thing. You have to get more than 50% of the vote. If you don't get 50% of the vote, then we have a runoff.
Yeah.
And we had third parties, that would be different. Because then what you would do is you would do this. You'd create a system where these third parties could get on the platform. They could state what was important to them. Okay. And yeah, they might get 4 or 5% of the vote, actually, if you had it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they've gotten to speak on what is important to them or whatever, and then we have a runoff, and whatever 2 is left is whatever 2 is left.
Yeah. And
eventually, it might take a few cycles, but eventually, some of these third-party candidates will probably end up on that runoff. Mm-hmm. Because, and I voted, Democrat most of my life, but I'm really bothered by the lack of new ideas. Mm-hmm. And I'm bothered by the lack of action in Washington. And I think that the lack of action is because of the two-party system, A, and B, the amount of money that it takes to run for public office, be it president, Senate, Congress. If you have to raise all that money, you're beholden to some people. Mm-hmm. And that whole thing got to change, man. That whole thing would have to change for us to have effective governing. We don't have that right now, and we don't have.
Well, I like where the conversation is going, but I do want to make sure that we stick to the script. So I am going to ask this of you guys just to make sure that we get some clarity on this question. So I heard you guys both talking about RFK stealing, votes from Trump. Is there anybody out there who could possibly steal votes from Biden?
Well, Jill Stein stole enough votes from Hillary Clinton in a couple of states to where if she hadn't been in the election, she would have won. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
Jill Stein, how about you?
Jill Stein, and I still think RFK is a threat to Biden when it comes to the independent swing voter. Steve kind of touched on it, and when he was talking about if it was just you had to get 50% of the vote. Right now, all you got to do is disrupt one swing state and flip that state and win the electoral college, and you can change the presidency. And that's what my fear is. He goes and wins Michigan, or he goes and wins, lo and behold, California's gonna vote blue, but he wins Michigan or he wins Pennsylvania somewhere, and that 4 to 5% vote or whatever swings it away it wouldn't have went, because if those votes would have voted for Biden or Trump, it would have went that way. That's the danger we face with the third party candidate, is that not that they're gonna win the presidency, but they're gonna go in and affect maybe one of these states is gonna determine who the president is because of the electoral college.
Yes.
Yeah. RFK is still a big threat with that. Mm-hmm. Like you say, Jill Stein stole some states from affected states with Hillary Clinton. And who says that doesn't happen? Then I think the Republican Party is basing that on that, really, to be honest with you. That's kind of their strategy. I sent that clip out, like you said, even where the RFK team came out and basically said that's what their strategy was. So, like, we're going to, not really winning presidency, but how can we affect the vote and keep Biden from keep Biden from winning the presidency? You know what I'm saying?
So my biggest fear is that y'all ain't click that like button. Make sure that you click on the like button. Make sure that you subscribe to Left Wing Kingz. Also, I want you guys to share this on all of your social media platforms so that people can see the message that we're trying to get out there and do some civic engagement and civic responsibility. So, Steve, if Trump and Biden were out of the race, which third-party candidate could actually win?
Okay, if they're out of the race, RFK is going to win. If they're out of the race. Because he is a little bit more moderate than Jill Stein and Cornell West. They would cancel each other out as far as votes because their policies are very similar. RFK would be more to the right, even though I would consider him kind of a centrist, but he's more to the right than the other two, so he would automatically win.
Yeah, he actually was a Democrat. He actually a Democrat. His family's Democrat, and that's where he should be. And I think that he's playing toward the right a little bit. But yeah, I don't see any other third party candidate being able to run a strong enough campaign to beat out RFK. Even though, like, Jill Scott's got some good points. Cornell West got some good points, but I just think when it comes to appealing nationally, RFK be the one that appeals nationally.
Yeah, and he is a Democrat, but he's more of a even though he has all the conspiracy theories, a lot of his policies are more centered than Jill Scott or Cornell West, because their policies are definitely to the left, and his are more centered, even though he's a Democrat.
Yeah. Well, he's claiming independent.
Independent now,
yeah.
So you brought up a point about like campaign funding and how much money it takes, but it's also a very, very like convoluted process to get on each state's ballot, because each state has different rules and guidelines to get into the game, right? So, Ace, what are some of the hurdles that are challenging these third-party candidates from getting on the ballot?
Personally, RFK tried to get me to sign up in front of a Dollar General one day. And I was like, hell no.
RFK was there, nigga?
It was a black dude, too. And then I'm going to tell you what killed me about it. He just handed me the thing. Like, man, sign this, chief. I looked at it. So what is this? I said, hell no.
I'm signing over my deed, nigga. What are you giving me?
Yeah, but that's one of the hurdles, man. They got to get somebody, signatures and stuff like that, and they have to have a backing in the state to want them to have that, and that's kind of hard as a third party candidate because you ain't got no party or nothing like that, so you don't have the people on the ground to get you on the ballot. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing. And like I said, people handing me strange clipboards, man, in front of the Dollar General ain't gonna cut it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And what he said, it's a political machine. And then you got the Democrats and Republicans to a lesser degree. If you are a libertarian, you're part of the Libertarian Party, they do have somewhat of a ground game. The Green Party has somewhat of a ground game. But when you're totally independent like RFK, that's a hard road, a harder road. It's a hard road anyway, unless you're a Democrat or a Republican. But to not have any party affiliation, because you got these other third parties, and they have ground game. There's a lot of things that the Green Party does, even though it doesn't really get the traction that the Democrats and the Republicans do. At least they have some type of political infrastructure. And if you don't have that, then it's going to be difficult to get on the ballot.
Yeah, and I think people got to understand it's politics. And politics is really, when it comes down to the simplest form, it's the allocation of resources, when it comes down to it. Government is set up for a reason. They have political systems, and that's the way it's set up. Nobody, people think it's like they think it's like a movie where a dude just says, "Hey, I'm gonna run for president, and I'm gonna get out there," and everybody likes him, and he becomes president. There's a political system that you got to go by, and you got to know and understand. And I think people forget that. Yeah, there's a game that needs to be played. But, you can go back to the Romans or any government that you have. It's always been a game to be played because it comes down to a country's governing of their resources is what politics is basically what it is. And there's people who control that and there's people who don't control that. And usually they form groups, which are political parties, and they control that. And you have to learn how to get within to do that. So even though it's very novel to say, hey, I like this guy's policy, he has some good ideas, he wants to run, but if he ain't got nobody backing him, and he's not part of an organization that can get behind him and do that, it's going to be far hard for him to do that. And so that's why I say when people start talking politics and, hey, I'm a elect a third party guy that has none of that backing, you're not understanding how powerful your vote is. You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't throw your vote away because you like what a dude says, but he has no power, no way he's going to get up there and do that. You need to find some way to influence that in other ways. Part of that's participating and understanding what's going on. But you just don't throw your vote away just because, hey, man, I like what this guy says. I ain't did no research. I ain't looked it up. But, hey, I like what he says, and I don't like the other guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, we got to do better than that. If we want... When we start talking about change, I think a lot of people don't understand. To change, you have to be involved. You just can't be talking about it on the sideline and say, hey, I want to change it, but this is what I think. No, you got to get involved and change it, man, if you're going to do that. And I think a lot of people, when they get behind these third parties, they think just because they vote for a third party person, they're doing some change. No, you got to do more than that. If you want that dude to really do it, you got to get behind them, figure it out.